In June of 2007, just months before the release of Halo 3, Bungie formally split from Microsoft, becoming an independent company for the first time in 7 years. As part of that separation deal, Bungie would create 2 more Halo games for Microsoft. One of these would be Bungie's send-off to the series, Halo Reach, and the other would be something of a departure from a traditional Halo game, while simultaneously being a return to something older. Following Halo 2, with Halo becoming a bigger and bigger transmedia franchise, a Halo movie was inevitable. Writer Joe Staten and a small team at Bungie would provide direction and consultation on the movie, and another side project that loosely tied into it, Halo Chronicles. But, as I'm sure you're all aware, this all fell through. With little else to do and a contractual obligation to make another Halo game, a new idea was pitched and approved. Starting life as Halo 3 Recon, the original idea was a short story with some new multiplayer maps for Halo 3. The game's name alluded to a challenge known as the Road to Recon, an opportunity for players to earn the coveted Recon armor for Halo 3's multiplayer. This would be the case for much of the game's development, even being announced as Halo 3 Recon in September of 2008, a year before its ultimate release. But as development continued, the game expanded into something much larger. This would be Halo 3 ODST. Halo 3 ODST opens just as the level Metropolis in Halo 2 wraps up, with a squad of ODSTs preparing to drop into the Prophet of Regrets assault carrier. Their drop is co-opted by the Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, at the last minute, and as they're entering the city of New Mombasa, the carrier makes a slipspace jump, scattering the ODST pods around the city. 6 hours later, one of the ODSTs, a new recruit known only as the Rookie, wakes up and begins his search for the rest of his squad. ODST is a departure from traditional Halo in a number of ways. No longer are you a hulking, powerful Spartan 2 super soldier, but a regular human. While a member of the elite orbital drop shock troopers with their own special equipment and gear, you're still an unaugmented human. You take damage quicker and more easily, and health packs make a return to reflect the more vulnerable nature of the player's avatar. The game also features a hub world, something never seen in a Halo game before or since, allowing players to explore the now destroyed city of New Mombasa, a location we only got a glimpse of in Halo 2, while simultaneously evading Covenant invaders. As the player advances through the game, they find clues to the fate of the rest of their squad, Alpha 9. As these clues are discovered, the player takes control of the other members of the squad, seeing what they got up to in the 6 hours prior to the Rookie's awakening. As the game advances, more and more of the city of New Mombasa opens up to the player, allowing for more exploration and freedom, and there's a good reason to engage in such exploration. Halo 3 introduced the concept of terminals, which future Halo games and remasters would implement, and Halo 3 ODST was no exception. In fact, I would dare say that ODST's terminals, collectively called Sadie's Story, is the best implementation of such a feature in Halo games to date. Around the city, players are able to find kiosks that will unlock the next chapter in the story, with 30 chapters in total to find. Sadie's Story tells the story of Sadie and Desha, a 19-year-old young woman living in the city of New Mombasa. The story opens just before the invasion of Earth by the Covenant and details her trials and tribulations as she attempts to survive. A beautiful look at the civilian struggle during the invasion, Sadie's Story has a deep connection to the Superintendent, the AI that runs most of New Mombasa's urban infrastructure, and the AI that guides the Rookie through the city as he searches for his squad. Beyond having a connection to the core story, finding all of the audio logs for Sadie's Story will actually have an effect on the story of ODST, albeit a minor one. Without spoiling things, the way the second to last level, Data Hive, will have a couple minor though notable changes. So if you're new to ODST, seeking out these audio logs is definitely worth your while. Halo has always had top-notch voice acting, but for ODST, Bungie went for something special, bringing in sci-fi legends Nathan Fillion, Adam Baldwin, and Alan Tudyk of Firefly and Serenity fame, and Tricia Helfer of Battlestar Galactica fame, though all 4 have had roles well beyond what I mentioned here. Fillion, Baldwin, and Tudyk had all previously provided voiceover for Halo 3 as background Marines, Fillion in specific playing Gunnery Sergeant Reynolds, an homage to Fillion's character from Firefly. Nathan Fillion plays Alpha 9's jaded leader, Gunnery Sergeant Edward Buck, Adam Baldwin plays Corporal Taylor Dutch Miles, and Alan Tudyk plays Private First Class Michael Mickey Crespo. The squad's fourth member, Lance Corporal Kojo Romeo Agu, is played by voice acting legend Nolan North, who also played Sergeant John Forge in Halo Wars. Finally, Trisha Helfer plays Oni Captain Veronica Dare, a character with a secret mission and who shares a past with Buck. Both Buck and Dare are modeled after their respective voice actors. So, in addition to being an excellent campaign that's fun and varied, the game is stacked with talent. And to top it all off, Marty O'Donnell's music for this game is as legendary as ever. A departure from traditional Halo music, ODST's soundtrack takes inspiration from old noir detective films and jazz, fitting the tone of the game and enhancing the atmosphere. While Halo Reach was meant to be Bungie's magnum opus for Halo, ODST, to me, feels like the ultimate Halo experience. One unlike anything before or since. Following the botched launch of the Master Chief Collection in 2014, while 343's support team was hard at work with the initial updates to stabilize the game, Saber Interactive, who had worked on the Halo CE and Halo 2 Anniversary remasters, were tapped again to port ODST's campaign over to MCC. For any fans who had purchased MCC in the months after it launched, ODST would be a free add-on, an apology for the game's poor launch. While it was great to see ODST get the 1080p 60fps treatment, we all know that MCC would still be several years away from stable. Still, with MCC in a much better state these days and ODST coming to PC, it's great that the game is part of the collection. While the campaign is something that's absolutely worth gushing over, the game is more than just its story. In 2008, Gears of War 2 launched and featured a survival mode known as Horde, in which players would fight wave after wave of Locust and Lambent, the waves getting more and more difficult over time. While survival modes were nothing new to gaming, the immense popularity of Horde prompted other games to take their own stab at survival modes, and Halo was no exception. Rather than a dedicated PvP experience, as was traditional for Halo, ODST had
Firefight.
Featuring Halo's traditional difficulties, Firefight would have 5 wave rounds, with 3 rounds making up a set. Each round would feature a new temporary skull, a difficulty multiplier, and each set would feature a permanent skull. Players would start out with 7 lives because Bungie loves the number 7, and the game would keep on going until those lives ran out. Players could choose to play as any member of Alpha 9, and those who pre-ordered the game were given a code to unlock Sergeant Avery Johnson in Firefight. Though Firefight lacked any online matchmaking, players could get together over System Link or Xbox Live, just like with Campaign, and play to their heart's content. Online leaderboards gave plenty of motivation to try and survive as long as possible. To this day, ODST's Firefight is fondly remembered by many. Sadly, when ODST was initially ported to MCC, it did not include this mode, but as I'm sure you're all aware now, ODST Firefight is coming to MCC on PC and console, and as has been the case with such ports, it will include a bunch of new features that weren't present in the original Xbox 360 version. For example, players can set starting weapons, even including the battle rifle that was originally removed from ODST. One thing that certainly held ODST's Firefight back in the day was the lack of game customization, but 343 is finally giving us the ability to do just that. Firefight was more than just a cash-in on a trend at the time, giving Halo fans a unique take on survival modes that left a lasting impression on the community. While Halo 3 ODST didn't feature its own dedicated multiplayer, it did include the Halo 3 multiplayer disc, a disc that came with the entire Halo 3 multiplayer offering, including all the DLC maps. While this may not sound like a big deal by today's standards, it was back then. The disc included 3 new maps that weren't available for download at the time, the second half of the Mythic Map Pack. This disc was fairly divisive at the time it came out. Many people felt, and still do feel, that ODST didn't have enough content to justify its $60 price tag, and that the inclusion of the Halo 3 disc was a cheap way to try and justify that price. Further, at the time of launch, Bungie had publicly said that there weren't any plans to make these new maps available for download, making it seem like players had to buy ODST to get the extra maps. Ultimately, these maps did become available to everyone, but people were rightly upset by the practices of the time. And that covers Halo 3 ODST. The game does also feature a theater mode, but seeing as it's the same version Halo 3 had, there's not much value in discussing it at any length. ODST was a unique game, unlike anything before or since. For me personally, it was the ultimate combination of gameplay, level design and variety, storytelling, cast, music, and features. Halo 3 ODST is, for me, the best Halo game ever made, and nothing yet has come close to its overall accomplishments, even if other games have excelled beyond ODST in specific areas. Part of that is certainly nostalgia for the time period this game came out, but still, it remains my favorite Halo game. Now, let's talk about media connected to ODST, which we have a surprisingly numerous number to talk about. First up is the comic series Halo Helljumper. A 5-part comic series, Helljumper follows Dutch and Romeo, 2 characters from the game, prior to it before they join Buck's squad. The comic gives some great extra character to the pair, especially Dutch, and features a nice contained story. The art is absolutely gorgeous and remains one of my favorite Halo comics. Next, we have a piece of marketing for the game, the pre-mission evaluations. This piece of marketing features Buck interviewing the various members of Alpha 9 just before they jump into New Mombasa, providing extra insight into each character. While the original site that hosted this is now gone, Halopedia has a recreation of it on their archives, which is linked below. After that, we have some more marketing, a short commercial officially titled The Life, but better known to fans as We Are ODST. It's a short commercial showing the journey of an ODST named Tarkov from recruitment to leading his own ODST squad. While it doesn't have any direct connection to the game it advertises, the atmosphere and cinematography make it a worthwhile watch, and it can help new fans get into the mindset older fans may have had back in 2009. Next up is an episode of the anime anthology Halo Legends, the episode titled The Babysitter. The collection was released in 2010, but this episode was actually teased back in 2009 prior to Halo 3 ODST's release, as it included the character of Dutch before his time with Alpha 9. The short overall is about the rivalry between ODSTs and Spartans. It's a fun short to watch to enhance your experience with the game, or to just enjoy on its own. And wrapping up this section, we have a couple of books which expand on Buck and Alpha 9 before and after the events of Halo 3 ODST. The first is a novella, Halo New Blood. Framed as a debrief after a mission in 2555, the book goes into Buck's history as an ODST and his leadership of the various incarnations of Alpha 9 over the years, as well as what happened to the team after the events of the game. The book is told entirely from Buck's point of view, and damn does Matt Forbeck, the author, know how to capture Buck/Nathan Fillion's cadence. The second book once again follows Buck, this time immediately after the events of Halo 5 Guardians. Titled Halo Bad Blood, I can't say too much about this full novel without spoiling New Blood. Suffice it to say, both books are great if you enjoy the character of Buck, and if you want more of the ODST squad from Halo 3 ODST. But that wraps up our look into this game. I provided links to anything I've mentioned that's available online in the description box below. What did you think of this game, and who's your favorite member of the squad? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, this has been Halo Canon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you really love me, hit that notification bell and leave a thumbs up. These both really help out the channel. I wouldn't be where I am now without your views and support, so once again, thank you. Keep on being awesome, Canonites.